What if I told you that a penny in your pocket could be worth thousands? Not decades from now, but today. The humble Lincoln cent, America's longest-running coin design, holds secrets that most collectors overlook. Welcome back to Numismatic Treasures, where today we're diving into two of the most misunderstood modern rarities in American coinage, the 1988 and 1987 Lincoln cents. These aren't ancient coins from distant centuries, they're pieces that many of you watching right now might actually own without realizing their true value. Let's explore why these seemingly ordinary pennies command extraordinary prices and the fascinating stories behind them. Let's start with the 1988 Lincoln cent. At first glance, nothing about this coin screams valuable. It's copper-plated zinc, weighs 2.5 grams, and features the same Lincoln portrait that's graced our penny since 1909. Yet beneath this ordinary appearance lies a coin that advanced collectors actively hunt, and for good reason. The story begins at the Philadelphia Mint in 1988. The mint was operating at full capacity, striking billions of cents without mint marks to meet the nation's commerce needs. But during this massive production run, something unusual happened. A small batch of 1988 pennies received an accidental double-die obverse, creating what we now call the 1988 double-die Lincoln cent. For those unfamiliar with the term, a double die occurs during the manufacturing process, not from being struck twice. When the working hub impresses the design onto a working die, misalignment can occur between impressions, creating a doubled image on the finished coins. In the case of the 1988 cent, this doubling is most prominent in the word Liberty and the date, where you can clearly see two distinct impressions slightly offset from each other. What makes this error truly special is its prominence. Many double dies show such subtle doubling that you need magnification to spot them. But the 1988 doubling is visible to the naked eye, especially in the letters of Liberty, where a distinct second impression appears slightly northeast of the primary lettering. Imagine writing your name, then writing it again slightly offset. That's essentially what happened here, except it occurred during the industrial die-making process. The U.S. Mint never officially acknowledged how many of these error coins entered circulation, but numismatic experts estimate fewer than 500,000 examples exist, a microscopic fraction of the approximately 5.4 billion pennies produced that year in Philadelphia. Remember, this wasn't a deliberate variant like commemorative issues, it was a manufacturing anomaly that escaped quality control. Most fascinating is how these coins entered the market. The story goes that a few bank employees in the northeastern United States noticed the unusual pennies in their rolls and began setting them aside. Word spread through early collector networks. This was before internet forums and social media, and soon, collectors were systematically searching through bank rolls. One Connecticut bank reportedly had to limit customers to 2 rolls of pennies per day because demand had grown so intense. The market value of these coins has seen remarkable growth. When first discovered in 1989, the 1988 double die brought about $100 to $150 in uncirculated condition. Today, the landscape is dramatically different. An MS-65 example, Mint State 65 on the standard 70-point grading scale, regularly commands $500 to $700, while perfect MS-67 specimens have sold at auction for upwards of $3,000. Even well-circulated examples in fine condition can bring $150 to $200, not bad for a coin with a face value of 1 cent. What's particularly interesting about the 1988 double die cent is how its value varies dramatically based on condition. A circulated example showing moderate wear might bring $150, while one with minimal circulation marks but full mint luster might sell for 5 times that amount. This creates a fascinating dynamic where the difference between a $200 coin and a $1,000 coin can come down to whether it spent a few months in circulation or went straight from a mint roll to a collector's holder. But here's what makes this coin truly special among modern errors: its accessibility. Unlike some rare coins that emerged from specific regional bank distributions, the 1988 double die cent entered general circulation across the eastern United States. Some reportedly made it as far west as Chicago before collectors recognized their significance. This wide distribution means examples could theoretically still be found in circulation, though the chances diminish with each passing year. I've personally spoken with collectors who've discovered these coins simply by examining pocket change or searching through penny jars. One collector from Pennsylvania told me he found a nearly uncirculated example in a roll of pennies he purchased in 2015, 27 years after the coin was minted. Stories like this keep the hunt alive. When examining your own cents from 1988, pay careful attention to the word "Liberty" and the date. Using a 5x magnifying glass, look for clear separation between the doubled elements, not just a blurry or mushy appearance, which could indicate strike doubling, a much more common and less valuable anomaly. The authentic 1988 double die shows clear separation in the doubled elements, particularly in the L and B of Liberty, where the serifs show distinct secondary impressions. The historical context of this coin adds another fascinating layer. The late 1980s represented the end of an era at the U.S. Mint. Computer-guided design and manufacturing processes were beginning to replace older mechanical methods, gradually reducing the likelihood of double die errors. The 1988 double die cent represents one of the last major double die errors from this transitional period, making it not just a valuable collectible but a historical artifact documenting the evolution of American minting technology. There's also an interesting collector psychology at play with the 1988 cent. Because it's a modern coin from recent memory, many traditional collectors initially dismissed it as insignificant compared to classic rarities. This created an opportunity for younger collectors and those with modest budgets to acquire examples before prices climbed. Today, those early adopters have seen their investments multiply several times over. Authentication remains critical with these coins, as counterfeits do exist. The most common deception isn't outright forgery but rather machine doubling being misrepresented as true double die errors. Machine doubling occurs during the striking process and creates a pushed or smeared appearance rather than the crisp, separated doubling of a genuine double die. Professional certification from services like PCGS or NGC provides assurance, though experienced collectors can often distinguish authentic examples through careful examination. What I find most compelling about the 1988 double die cent is how it represents the democratic nature of coin collecting. Unlike some numismatic treasures that sell for millions and are accessible only to the ultra-wealthy, this is a coin that theoretically could be found by anyone willing to search through enough penny rolls. This accessibility has created a community of searchers, people who spend evenings examining boxes of cents with magnifying glasses, hoping to find that one special coin. Some collectors have even reported finding multiple examples from specific bank locations, suggesting that certain batches of these error coins moved through the banking system together. This has led to occasional mini rushes, when word spreads that a particular bank branch might have received original 1988 Federal Reserve bags in their penny supply. Now let's shift our attention to another modern rarity that flies under the radar of many collectors, the 1987 Lincoln cent. But not just any 1987 penny, we're talking specifically about the 1987 double die cent. While similar to its 1988 counterpart in concept, this coin tells a completely different story and presents its own unique characteristics that make it a prized addition to any serious collection. The 1987 double die cent emerged from the Denver Mint, immediately distinguishing it from the Philadelphia minted 1988 variety we just discussed. This is significant because Denver minted coins typically saw different distribution patterns than their Philadelphia counterparts, concentrating initially in western states before spreading eastward through the banking system. What happened at the Denver facility that year was remarkable. During the die-making process, a misalignment occurred between hub impressions, creating a working die with distinctly doubled elements. But unlike many double dies that show doubling in only one area, the 1987 D exhibits pronounced doubling throughout Lincoln's portrait. The most dramatic doubling appears in Lincoln's ear, eye, and beard, where two clearly separated impressions are visible even without magnification in the best examples. The discovery story of the 1987 D double die has elements of both luck and persistence. A Colorado bank teller with a casual interest in coins noticed something unusual about certain pennies in her cash drawer in late 1987. She set aside several examples before mentioning them to a local coin dealer, who immediately recognized their significance. Within months, the variety had been confirmed by major authentication services, and a hunt began across Colorado and neighboring states. What makes this particular error so fascinating is its variability. The doubling didn't appear with the same intensity on all coins struck from the affected die. Early strikes show bold, dramatic separation in the doubled elements, while later strikes from the same die show progressively weaker doubling as the die began to wear. This created what specialists now categorize as stages of the 1987 D double die, with early stage examples commanding significant premiums over later examples. The rarity of this coin is substantial but difficult to precisely quantify. Numismatic researchers estimate that perhaps 250,000 to 300,000 examples were struck before the die was removed from service, a tiny fraction of the roughly 4.1 billion pennies produced at Denver that year. This rarity, combined with the fact that many examples entered circulation and experienced wear before being recognized as valuable, makes high-grade specimens particularly elusive. The market has responded accordingly. While circulated examples in fine condition might bring $75 to $100, uncirculated specimens in MS-65 regularly sell for $400 to $600, and superb gems in MS-67 have reached the $2,500 mark at major auctions. One particularly exceptional example, graded MS-68 red by PCGS with a CAC sticker, sold for a remarkable $6,325 in a 2019 Heritage auction, over 632,500 times its face value. What's particularly interesting about collecting the 1987 D double die cent is how it illustrates the concept of condition rarity. While the variety itself is scarce, finding one in pristine, gem condition is extraordinarily difficult. Most examples discovered in circulation show at least some wear, and many that remained in mint condition suffered from improper storage or handling before their significance was recognized. This creates a fascinating pyramid effect where each grade increase represents a substantial jump in both rarity and value. There's a compelling human element to the 1987 D double die story as well. I've spoken with several collectors who discovered their examples through sheer persistence, sorting through thousands of pennies from bank rolls over months or even years. One collector from Wyoming told me he searched penny rolls every evening after work for nearly a year before finding his first example. He now owns 6, including an MS-64 specimen worth approximately $350. Authentication challenges with the 1987 D double die are particularly interesting. Because the doubling appears in the portrait rather than in the lettering, it can sometimes be confused with strike doubling or even damage. The genuine article shows doubling that appears as two distinct impressions slightly offset from each other, while machine doubling typically creates a smeared or pushed appearance. This subtlety makes professional certification particularly valuable for this variety. When examining potential 1987 D double die cents, focus on Lincoln's ear, which shows the most dramatic separation between the doubled elements. Under 5x magnification, you should be able to see clear doubling in the inner ear details. The eye and beard also show significant doubling, with two distinct impressions visible in strong examples. The mint mark should read D, confirming Denver origin, though the doubling doesn't typically affect the mint mark itself. The historical context surrounding this coin adds another layer of interest. The late 1980s saw decreasing public attention to circulating coinage as electronic payments began their rise. Fewer people were actively examining their change compared to previous decades, meaning many of these valuable pennies likely passed through numerous hands before anyone noticed their significance. Some almost certainly remain undiscovered in old penny jars and collections of unsorted coins. There's an interesting regional aspect to collecting the 1987 D double die cent as well. Because they originated from the Denver Mint, the initial distribution concentrated in western states, creating regional hotspots where examples were more commonly found. Collectors in Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, and parts of Nebraska reported finding multiple examples, while those in eastern states often came up empty-handed despite searching equivalent numbers of coins. This pattern has equalized somewhat over the decades as coins migrate through the banking system, but regional disparities still exist. The 1987 D double die cent also represents an important piece in the broader pattern of modern mint errors. The 1980s produced several significant double die varieties across different denominations, suggesting systemic challenges in the die-making process during this period. Collecting the 1987 D cent alongside other prominent errors from this era, like the 1983 double die cent or the 1984 double die cent, allows numismatists to study the evolution of mint technology and quality control practices. Perhaps most remarkably, the 1987 D double die cent remains underappreciated relative to its rarity. While the 1955 double die cent or the 1972 double die cent have achieved legendary status among error collectors, the 1987 D variety hasn't received the same level of mainstream recognition despite being significantly rarer than many of its more famous counterparts. This creates a potential opportunity for astute collectors to acquire examples before broader market awareness potentially drives prices higher. For those interested in the technical aspects, the 1987 D double die represents what numismatists classify as a Class I double die, created by hub doubling during the die manufacturing process, rather than by multiple strikes on the coin itself. The doubling shows a distinct clockwise rotation, with the secondary image appearing slightly northeast of the primary impression. This specific doubling pattern helps authenticate genuine examples and distinguish them from other less valuable varieties. Preservation challenges with these coins are worth noting as well. Because the 1987 D cent is composed of copper-plated zinc rather than the solid copper of pre-1982 cents, they're vulnerable to specific forms of deterioration. Zinc cents can develop zinc rot when exposed to moisture, which can cause bubbling and disintegration of the core metal. This makes proper storage particularly important for preserving both the coin's appearance and its long-term value. I've had the opportunity to examine several collections specializing in this variety, and what's striking is the diversity of acquisition stories. Some collectors found their specimens in circulation, others purchased them from dealers who recognized their significance, and still others acquired them through trades with fellow enthusiasts. Each coin carries not just its inherent numismatic value but also the personal story of its discovery and the journey that brought it into a particular collection.